Hello, America. Big Lou here, coming to you from sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, on day 14 of our self quarantine in order to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Today, I want to talk a little bit about something in a little more serious tone. I want to discuss the president's coronavirus guidelines for America, basically called 15 Days to Slow the Spread. Now, everyone's working very hard to try to do their part, and it's created certainly some very difficult challenges throughout the world. And I just want to reflect on a couple of the things that we're being asked to do by the president, which perhaps in some way could be difficult and in other ways could be really very easy. So, when I talk about it, I want to go through these points one at a time. Right at the top of the list, and here it is, 15 days to slow the spread. First thing is, listen and follow the directions of your state and local authorities. Well, you got to be an idiot not to do that. I was told by one of my close friends and a political guy that the best thing to do is to register with the political party who picks up your garbage. Now, the point there being, listen to the people who are handling your stuff every day. They're pretty much doing it for the good of your community. Now, the second thing is, if you feel sick, stay home. Do not go to work. Contact your medical provider. This is something that we should all be doing anyway. If you don't do that, you're just being contrary. So, but in this particular case, if you are contrary, you're not only affecting yourself, but a lot of other people. I want you to think about that. This is not about you alone. So, again, if you feel sick, stay home, do not go to work, and contact your medical provider. Same thing goes for the next item. If your children are sick, keep them at home. Don't send them to school. Contact your medical provider. That's just repeating the same thing, adding your children to it. And if they're the most precious thing in your life, which they should be, then this is easy to understand. Now, this goes on to say if someone in your household is tested positive for coronavirus, keep the entire household at home. Do not go to work. Do not go to school. Contact your medical provider. Duh. I mean, that's pretty easy as well. Next, if you're an older person, stay home and away from other people. Now, I'm an older person. First of all, that's easy for us because other people want to stay away from us. Older people are ornery, particularly old men, not necessarily older women, because older women are grandmothers. Everybody wants to be around a grandmother. But nobody wants to be around an old man. Not even other old men. They want to be around younger people. So, if you're an older person, stay home and stay away from other people, which you may not have a choice anyway. If you're a person with a serious underlying health condition, you're at increased risk. So you just stay home and stay away from anybody and everybody and try to do what you can to keep yourself well. All right. Now, let's go to what that is, which is on the next page of the president's coronavirus guidelines. That's this big blue sheet right here. Okay? All right. And by the way, you could go You can get this on the internet, corona.gov, whatever it is. But, you Google it and boom, it pops up, smacks you in the face. Okay. Now, here's the thing. It talks about the things that you need to do, even if you're young and healthy, and how you can put others at risk. So you still have to do your part. Remember, this is about slowing the spread. And you know what? All you people out there, you're nothing but a perfect example of Typhoid Mary. You could be carrying this around with you for a long time and hurting people that don't deserve it. So, work from home. Avoid social gatherings. Use drive-through pickup delivery options. Avoid discretionary travel. Do not visit nursing homes, retirement, long-term, and practice good hygiene. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my early childhood and explain why a lot of these things are really easy and a lot of these things are more challenging. Let's talk about social distancing first of all, which also includes things specifically like avoiding social gatherings, meaning groups of more than 10 people, avoid eating, drinking at bars, restaurants, food courts, and things like that. All right. Well, when I was a kid, social distancing meant to us, you lived within a football field of all your relatives. Now, where I grew up, we lived here. My grandmother and grandfather lived over here, 2 doors away. Across the street was Aunt Mary. Behind them was Aunt Jeannie. Around the corner was Uncle Nicky. Down at the end of that street was Uncle Jimmy. Around the other corner was Uncle Tony. And then a little further down the block was Uncle Joy. We all lived in one block in the neighborhood. So that social distancing meant for us, you better be close enough to be with your family. We ate at my grandmother's every Sunday. Now that goes to show you how difficult it could be for some people to avoid social gatherings in groups of more than 10 people. Because usually in each house there was 10. So on Sunday, when all of those houses got together, I can't tell you exactly how many people were there because we kind of went in shifts. After church, the water was boiling. They just kept throwing pasta in the water and bringing it out. So that could be challenging, particularly for families like ours. Which, by the way, brings up an interesting point for me. Why do you think Italy's having such a difficult time right now? Because that's the way they are. Sometimes your most redeeming qualities make you most vulnerable. So when you're reaching out with open arms to your brethren, sometimes you become susceptible to certain things. How do we get around that? Well, we don't, because it's just the way things are. You try to do things to mitigate it once it's been involved. But let me tell you something, and this goes for all the criticism that there's been for all of our leaders and, particularly our president. One thing I know for sure is that if you want to make God chuckle, tell him about your plans for the future. Nobody gets that right all the time. On the other hand, one of the things that you have to do, no matter whether you're a leader or a follower or you live alone, you got to take your hands off the steering wheel, because God pretty much controls what the outcome of most things are. Now, he gives you choices, and usually you have an opportunity to pick one side or the other, a certain way to go. Be careful what you choose, because that will affect the outcome. So, Avoid social gatherings when you can, in this particular case. Practice good hygiene. In my family, that was easy. As soon as we got up and we started to go out the door, my mother said, "Did you wash your hands?" I'd run down the street, go into my grandmother's. She'd look at me and she'd say, "Go to the bathroom and wash your hands." I'd come back out, and my Aunt Josie would look at us and say, "You didn't wash your hands right. Get up here. Let me show you how to wash your hands." So I have no problem with the hygiene thing because we had a lot of good training there. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is that listen to your body. And everything about this has to do with your immune system. And in our life, nutrition was always important. Remember, I talked a little bit about all the houses being close to each other. Well, not only were they close to each other, but everybody's backyard had a garden in it. And everybody grew everything that there was. And it better be good for you. And it was things like fruits. There were fruit trees in my grandmother's yard and berry bushes and grapevines and all that. But on top of that, there was always a huge, a lot of people call them victory gardens. Well, it was going for the home run victory. They had everything. My mother even planted corn in our backyard, and we didn't have a very big yard. So nutrition is important. But today's day and age, not everybody has a garden in their backyard. So at some point in time, you're going to fall down there. Well, what do we have for that? We have a solution, a 21st century solution for that. And that's supplements. So whatever it is, I'm not an expert at it, but I'm going to recommend that take a little bit of time and research the notion of supplements. Because one thing I know for sure from a very credible healthcare professional, he once asked me, "What do you think cures your body's ailments?" And I thought perhaps he was going to tell me some sort of wonder drugs or vitamins or something like that. His answer to me was, "You know what, Lou? Your body cures those ailments. Your body needs everything that it can to fight off things like the coronavirus. So practice your hygiene, practice social distancing, make sure you got a powerful immune system. And you know what? Together, we're going to beat this." End of the story.